Now that time that was an accident. I didn't even mean to do it. It's like automatic or something. I need to take it out every time it's time to do it, dog.
What you talking about?
The damn countdown. I did not
Oh,
intend to
gotcha,
do the
gotcha.
countdown that time, and it still popped up. But I know where I need to go to take it out. You feel me? And I didn't take it out. I didn't take it out.
I thought you were regionally prejudiced. At first I was like, oh, we're going to sandbag a little bit. We're going to start this off at the 305. And you were like, nah, we're going to keep it West Coast and start it off at 310.
No, man. um, I had a crazy start to the day. You feel me? It's been crazy. It's been crazy. So I ain't really get to it. But
That's all right.
we on time. We on time. We late, but we on time.
My Martinez is still cold, so we're good.
I like that though. I like that as a masculine response to the martini, the Martinez.
You know what's really bad is God, what's the name of the guard on the Miami Heat? Fuck.
The guard. Dwayne Wade?
Nah, the one who's there now. Butler.
Jim. Yeah.
He is trying to steal my brand, and he's doing an advertisement of it.
What part of it is he trying to steal?
Well, it's this is the Miami Martini. The espresso martini is all popular, but it's like, vodka, Kahlua, espresso, and then, ice shaken. I'm like, well, we're not going to do that. We're in Miami. So I'm doing Cuban coffee with dark rum, shaken, whatever, sugars in the Cuban coffee and whatnot. So he's doing that. He's making the espresso martini with Bacardi rum and calling it like the Martini de Ocho instead of Calle de Ocho.
Yeah.
And he's got a whole ad campaign and shit. It's the second time that the Martinez concept has been popularized under a different name and stolen from me.
I think you should actually make it. You should really make that what men start calling the martini, the Martinez. I like that for some reason.
I like it a lot. Back in the day, and this is another masculine thing, I was shaking tequila and just having it just shaken and poured. And I would order and say, I want a Martinez, and they didn't know what I was talking about. And then after doing this for like 2 years, somebody started doing the same thing and branded it the Taquini, which sounds like bikini. It's extremely feminine sounding. I couldn't order it again. And I lost my Martinez brand. So I reinvigorated the Martinez brand with this drink, and he's stealing it again.
Maybe we need to put it in a can for you, the Martinez, cuz.
That could be all right. That could be all right.
No Ceilings Live, the lunch hour, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 noon. Not 12:10 noon, 12 noon. Forgive us. It's my fault. Pete actually beat me here. And Steele, I've been waiting on Steele. I thought Steele had it set up because I had been texting him back and forth about setting it up. So to get here and realize he didn't have it set up, then I had to delete some videos to make space.
I think we need to change his name from Norm Steele to Still waiting.
Still waiting. I like that. Still waiting. Again, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon, not noon 10 or 12:10 Pacific time. Click the thumbs up button. Let everybody know you up in this thing. Do that solid for me if you're on YouTube. If you're on Twitter, retweet it. If you're on Facebook, share it. We did incredible numbers last Friday. This was our first time doing big numbers. Shout out to everybody who bought us lunch. Shout out to everybody who's going to buy us lunch today. Click the link in the description. Subscribe to the No Ceilings podcast. The reason we do this is because of the actual podcast. Again, the video portions of this is a live stream. We actually have a podcast called No Ceilings. It's Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcast. Executive produced by Charlemagne the God, Black Effect Network. That's his company, and iHeart, the media conglomerate.
Which reminds me, I think we need a podcast for this week.
This week, why?
Have we not recorded
we have a podcast. Facts. And so as soon as I leave here, I got to do the community. So I'm gonna be working. So I'm gonna do this. Woo. Yeah, I'm gonna do this for our people, and however long it goes, how long it go. Then
in other words,
community.
Anyone's contributions today are gonna go to Glasses' throat lozenges.
Man,
we're gonna talk about 7 hours in a row.
Yeah, because I got to do this one, and then I got to do the community, And then after that, we got to do the podcast that releases tomorrow.
Yeah, brought to you by
I've been
Rico.
trying to talk about the first 100 days of the new presidency, so hopefully we could tackle that. That's something that's been on my mind. But what's bothering me is, right, so Kendrick drops a surprise album called GNX, right, which is his best album by far. You know what I mean? Shout out to everybody in the chat too. Lifted, Mason, Squishy, my dog. That's my heart. Squishy is my heart. Kelvin, Sudis. What up, Douche Mac? I see you, Mason, Name Brand, MS Bynum, Gene. What's up with it, Brody? Yep, we in this thing right here going crazy. Sharice, what's the deal? It's been interesting. I listened to the album about 4 or 5 times. I listened to the album about 4 or 5 times. I stand on the fact that this album is Dot's best album by far, too. It's not even close. This is the time he connected everything together. Like, you could hear the confidence. Even the music video. Shout out to the music video. If you didn't see it, the music video dropped for Squabble Up. Squabble Up is probably gonna be a top 3 album, top 3 song in the country. When the Billboard charts come out, it's that kind of really great song.
I thought I also saw a video with what's her name on the other song.
Which one?
God damn it, Luther.
Maybe I'm sure he probably shot a lot of videos because this is a really dope project.
I seen some girls reposting him and that other chick running in a meadow or something like that.
SZA.
Yeah,
maybe. Why not?
I'm never in the right meadows at the right time.
SZA is cold. She cold. She cold. And she talented. That I gotta hook you up with her, Pete. I don't know if she really get down with the Rose goes, but I gotta hook you up with her. I'm gonna send her.
I'm always down to get completely rejected and humiliated publicly. That's great. Been there, done that.
I don't think that's gonna happen, Pete. She might be your wife.
I'll tell you this much. I'll make a really lucrative bet that is what happened. That could take me out of some debt.
I might have a bet. I think she might give you some play.
Mm-hmm.
She might tear your world up. I can see
nice,
you.
Nice. Capital One will be very happy to get their money back.
Hey. So, mind you, I listened to the Kendrick album. And it's great. It's by far his best album. Again,
I agree with that.
Classic is more about timing, so I don't really get into that. But I'm talking about just listening to the records, listening to the music, listening to the way the album is constructed. Like, I got a chance to listen to it more. I knew it off the first listen because I've been studying music for so long that I can hear what's going on. So I know when it's, when it got a feel. And that record is incredible. You know what I mean? Again, the Squabble Up video comes out today. So after you hop off this live, make sure you go check out that Squabble Up video. Saturday, my partner Ali, shout out to the Saint Lunatic, shout out to Nelly, my loc from the Lou, shout out to Murph, who put me on the album, one of the first albums I ever been on that wasn't like, that was a platinum artist from somebody else. Shout out to Ali, who's been like a great voice of hip hop and understanding for me to get a better understanding with somebody that has been instrumental in another movement. Them dudes, single-handedly put on St. Louis. You know what I mean? So I really love my boys from the Ticks, man. I don't care what they got going on with each other. I love all of them dudes, you know what I mean? And I'm grateful for what they were able to do for me growing up and having some kind of understanding about St. Louis.
Yeah. And we got to get Ali on here, man. I didn't realize that was him. I started seeing him like on social media and shit. And Ali's any old kind of name, So it's and it's kind of like the kind of name that I would figure just for no reason at all, that like a very contemplative thinkers type of guy's name. Sure. A lot of like the Black Muslim people, very thinker oriented types. And I didn't realize at first until like the 4th or 5th time I saw it that was that guy. I'm like, oh, we got to get this. This guy's great. Because I might take a 6-month pit stop in St. Louis this spring anyway.
Leezy Sharp. I hate when him and Nelly, I hate when he talk about Nelly, and I hate when Nelly talking about, I don't like that. But again, that's not my business, because I Nelly is my motherfucking loc, you know what I'm saying? And I love Ali too. Like, I love them for helping each other. I love Ali teaching him. So I always stay down no matter what. Like, I'm a tick. I'm not involved in none of y'all falling out. I love the Ticks, nigga. That's how I'm
request.
Go ahead.
Can we do a show directly across the street from St. Louis Cardinal Stadium.
Yeah, we could do that.
Is a great barbecue joint called Salt and Smoke. And you can sit there eating ribs and you can see the whole stadium like this through the window. It's a phenomenal venue. I would love to do that.
Let's do it next year. Let's do it next year.
Hell yeah, like the 3rd of January. I got no patience.
The 3rd of January. Okay. Okay.
Well, hold on. It's cold there. I got patience. It's cold.
Yeah. So anyway, shout out to Leezy. He called me and he had a good brother. I forgot Will's last name, but Will he did something with 106 in Park, a couple people. And you could tell talking to him, he's a really sharp dude on hip hop. And obviously he saw my tweets. Obviously I've been tweeting up a storm. Like, I'm so proud of Dot. You know what I mean? My brother is really on another level. And I just totally enjoy, him at the pinnacle of his powers. And I love how he's using his power. Like, I love what he's doing with his power. Again, I told y'all Friday, I think it took Dot becoming a big homie for him to truly hit his pinnacle peak. Maybe even a parent. You know what I mean? It probably has something to do with him being a parent too. And I'm just so impressed. You know what I mean? It's like, honestly, it's like hearing my favorite guys that I grew up listening to. And that's really hard because I'm an adult now. So I'm just uber impressed because, like, I am fired up.
You know what kind of reminds me of?
Go ahead.
Like when you would see like a young basketball player, like say like it reminds me like Tracy McGrady. He comes in and it's like, this guy's it. And it kind of takes a couple years and, he's kind of under the Vince shadow. And you're 19 years old, 18 years old, getting into the league, tall, kind of gangly. And then all of a sudden, this fucking guy. Holy shit.
Except he'd been on top of the game since he started. Like he the first day he was a platinum act. You know what I mean? Not the first day, but like the first album, I think he did like 200,000.
But like realizing potential hits. Like, this is what we knew it was there, and now it's here.
And now you see it on the court.
Yeah. Kind of like LeBron. Like it took LeBron a few years. I remember seeing LeBron play in high school at Poly Pavilion. I'm like, oh boy. He was it when he started, but after a few years, it was really it.
Yeah. So, Will calls me with Leezy, and Leezy puts him on the joint, and he saw my tweets. I've been tweeting up a storm, and he said, "Man, you really think this is Kendrick's best album?" And I'm like, "Yeah, this is Kendrick's best album by far." He was like, "Man, are you saying that because it sounds like the West Coast?" And I'm like,
to talk to Steele in advance.
Well, and that kind of started me into like a real deep conversation with him about hip hop, right? Explaining hip hop is all about street urban culture, personified through these arts and elements. I had to really start from the beginning and put it back together from Sylvia Robinson and Sugar Hill, from Larry Smith and Houdini to Marley Moore. I had to put
Ali should understand this.
No, Ali got it. Ali get it. That's one person who don't have no problem understanding. He know what has to be done.
If they didn't have such a distinct sound, it would
never work.
Then they're dirty from Montgomery, Alabama. They're just some guys rapping.
Facts. So, again, I started to recreate hip hop for him. I'm like, yo, this is hip hop. I started to recreate hip hop for him, right? And I'm like, the records are supposed to sound culturally like correct. Now, the West doesn't just root itself in funk, but there's a pace of life. There's a rhythm of life. Like BPM stands for beats per minute, heartbeats per minute, right?
Sure.
Go ahead.
No, it's a quick question. And I don't mean to call the guy out. It has nothing to do with him.
Okay.
But I felt like there was some meat left on the bone with a guy like Wale. I didn't get such a great DC has a vibrant urban culture, and Maryland, the whole DMV, it really, really does. I didn't really feel like I got as much of that as I would have wanted out of Wale. There was some of it to a degree, undeniably, but I thought there was room there for it to hit the way Nelly hit out of St. Louis and go, wow, I could taste the sauce on this. I got to get a napkin.
But if it again, this in that same conversation, and yes, that's why I think Wale who's a tremendous record maker. Wale, one of the best record makers I ever saw in hip hop with my own eyes, for sure.
100%. Not saying anything otherwise.
No, anything otherwise. But I do think because there is a level of pasteurized culture that's happening in hip hop over the last 15 years, you don't have monumental artists to the same stature of a phenomenon like a Dog or a Hove or a Wayne. You don't have that phenomenon because really it's just music now.
Yeah. And to what extent, like, you know, a lot of the guys that you mentioned, they came in and they had that landmark producer with them that had a sound with them that was the first off that city. He didn't really have that. Meek Mill and Philly didn't really have it. They were so talented that a giant, you know, hip hop conglomerate of sorts. I need that. And now you're rapping on their sound a little bit to a degree.
Okay. Shout out to Marcel. Wale is a Nigerian immigrant. He isn't steeped in DC culture like a born Black American. That makes sense.
Fair.
So yeah.
And I was always surprised that like Baltimore didn't have a guy pop off with its own sound, and that whole like that's an epicenter that I thought really would have like just and done it, you know, by now.
Sure. Shout out to obviously a million factors. That's because Wale is from the outskirts. Maybe so, but even the outskirts of DC would be bathed in DC culture.
Sugar Free from Pomona. I mean, he's from Compton, but he's from Pomona.
Yeah, but Pomona's hella seasoned, weirdly. Like, you know, I know
how far out the outskirts of DC
I know
get
Pomona,
DC on you.
No, I know Pomona feels like it is far from LA. That is true. Yeah. Pomona is a good 35-minute drive from Pomona, but Pomona is its own cultural epicenter 100%. Of Los Angeles shit.
Shout out to the Garvey track, man. They doing it out there.
No, Pete, like crazy. Like them niggas.
My best friend from college is from the dirt in Pomona. I spent so much time there. So much time there. I was there every weekend for years.
Yeah, so Pomona is one of those places that even though it's not close to the center of Los Angeles, it is fucking hella west. It is hella LA. Sure. Them niggas is some shit. But okay, let me get back to it. So he was telling me this, and I noticed he said that. And I said, dog, like imagine saying is 400 degrees to New Orleans, or if the Diary is to Houston, or is Blueprint 1 to New York. Like, what the fuck? What is it about the West Coast that things can become too West Coast? Why is that a true thing? Like we expect, like we would never tell Chief Keef his music is too drill. It's too drill. I don't know about this. You know, the reason y'all think it's a classic in Chicago because it's so drill. And I just didn't get it. And it made me start to really, like we all say this. We all say this as artists that there's this weird thing about West Coast acts, right? Where it's like you can be too West Coast. Like I've heard people say that, but you don't say that about Future. Future music sound like fucking Atlanta, like Georgia. Like that shit is hella Georgia. I've never heard a nigga be like, you know what? That new Future album is too Atlanta. It's just too Atlanta.
They play Future in the coffee shops in Atlanta.
That's what I'm saying, but I've never heard nobody say Future is too Atlanta. It's too Atlanta. This is way too Atlanta. I don't want to hear this. Listen to the Atlanta slang he's doing and the beats. It's too Atlanta.
What question? Like, what is? I mean, because his sound, he does sound very dungeony, but Atlanta's had, you know, they had that. They had they've had a lot of different kind of types of sounds come out of Atlanta over the years. I think some of that has to do with the duration of the fact that LA's sound has been going on for a very long time. Like drill, like you've, and I don't hear it as so much as you hear it. I'm a layman, but like say drill to do or die, it doesn't sound the same so much to me. I understand like the tempos and stuff might be the same, but it does sound not. It doesn't sound like it's a continuation so directly from that type of vibe. But I, you know, again, I'm a layman's ear.
Well, I mean, again, man.
The same way like Rick doesn't sound like Luther in that sense, you know what I mean? It sounds very Miami. Cool and Dre sounds crazy Miami, but it doesn't sound like Luther.
Okay, so this is the problem with Luke, right? Specifically Luke. You're talking about Rick Ross and Luke, right? Okay, so Luke, right? Luke is, his producer is a California guy, right? That created a Miami-based sound. That's a party sound versus Ross music that's just really Southern to a degree, right? Because
it was more of a continuation of Trick.
Yeah, it's more exactly. It's more of an extension of what Trick was doing. But again, it's like all West Coast music don't sound one way. Like Battle Cat sounds nothing like Dr. Dre.
True, very true.
Like and Quick and Cat don't sound nothing like Quick. And Quick music don't sound nothing like Warren. So it's just weird that when it comes to West Coast music, that people feel like, oh, you know, like Glasses, you like it because it's so West Coast. Well, imagine me telling you like the Ticks because it sounds so St. Louis, or me telling a Brooklyn dude you only like the, you know, like prime example, like Illmatic sounds hella New York. I've never thought to myself and said, man, y'all only saying this a classic because it sounds so New York. I don't understand what the hell is going on. But I never in my life thought to myself, like, man, this sounds too New York for me.
I think it would be like if what was the name of the guy who got in all the trouble who was hot out of New York? Schmurda.
Yeah, Bob.
Like
Schmurda.
That didn't sound like it was just like trying to pull real heavy off of like that Illmatic kind of Premiere, like that type of sound, you know what I mean? So I really don't know, but there, I mean, like, then I haven't heard a song of his in a long, long time, so I'm going off of like distant memories. But you kind of know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't sound quite so much. Like, it doesn't sound like when I hear New York music, I just see people slam dunking basketballs at the Rucker. You know what I mean? And I didn't hear that with Pop Smoke or him quite to that degree. So I don't know.
Shout out to Jay Pesos, and this is a great point. Much love, brother. It's my first time seeing you on the chat again. This is No Ceilings Live, the lunch hour, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Pacific Standard Time. Click that thumbs up button. Let everybody know you're here. Go in the description. Subscribe to the No Ceilings Podcast. The reason we do this, the No Ceilings Podcast on Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcast. Executive produced by Charlamagne the God, Black Effect, and the iHeart. It's the new consumer not understanding hip hop roots in general, and that's what it is. That's exact. But you know what's funny, Jay? I'm glad you said it. This has been my issue over the last 14 years, right? When blogs took over hip hop, I tell my partners from ADHD all this time, when blogs took over hip hop, because the college kids kind of got involved, and when the consumer started controlling what was going out to everybody else, the consumer.
It's literally like if I was in charge of hip hop instead of Glasses, is what has happened.
Yes, exactly. And it's like the streets used to give the green light to be represented. Like, right? Music had to pass through the streets for people to be like, yeah, this represents us fine enough. Here, you guys can have it.
Now it got to pass through me.
Now it's passing through Pete and guys at universities that's trying to understand. So that's where I think you get the narrative. And it's funny because this is why I've always said, and people hate when I say this, that the owl is not hip hop. This is why you are confused, because that's your gold standard of what you think hip hop is, and his sound is pasteurized.
Yeah.
Nothing about his sound you understand anything about Toronto. So most of the last listeners over the last 15 years have built their understanding. If you came into hip hop in the last 15 years, if you came into the art, just observing the art, listening to the music, you built everything based off of what you thought that was.
Sure. Can we do a little bit of a, and I need you for this.
And shout out to Cuz, shout out to Drake, who just did this interview, Cuz, where it just looked dumb. And then the homies in the group chat was like talking shit. And I'm like, they like, man, you know, he looking stupid. I'm like, Cuz, he always looked like this. Like, he always looked like this. Like, there is a cultural ignorance, Cuz, that's happening that nobody called out because you just didn't know it.
Yeah, because everybody getting laid to the song, so nobody complains when they get their dick sucked.
You feel me? And
proverbially.
And so that's why hip hop is at this lost space.
Yeah.
It's lost. And to where somebody calls me and feels like, man, well, you only think this is the best Kendrick album because a Compton nigga sounded like he was from Compton.
That's the only, I mean, like, look, I want to be very honest with you. This is going to get me thrown out of here in 2 seconds.
Go ahead.
I like this album more than the rest of them. I didn't really like any of the other ones.
But you're not
largely
wrong.
For that reason. Because I'm like, I don't need to hear a rapper rap for the sake of it. I'll be very honest. If it's not like really funny, really insightful, or painting a picture of a place that I really just don't go every fucking day, it's just a guy rapping for the sake of it. And that was what a lot of those were. Like Swimming Pools is any old song. It's a cool song. I'm not saying that the talent, like that he doesn't go in the fucking studio and crush it, but what he's handed to crush it on or whatever the hell, this is different than those.
Yes.
This is different than
better.
Those.
Right? So
that's another word.
Shout out to Fats, my brother Fats. What's the deal, Fats? Why y'all hate Drake so bad?
Because he sees Drake in me. That's why. He hates me.
I don't hate Drake, bro. I don't know if anybody else hates Drake. I'll be honest with you, bro. I don't hate Drake, bro. I have zero hate for Drake. I'm not even lying to you.
It's an emblematic thing.
The dude is a talented artist. He's a dope rapper. He makes great rap songs. I don't hate him. But if I can identify something that is true, it's not hate. If different. I tell you Rick Ross, right, is not the greatest authentic representation of being a D-boy, or that his raps are composed in a fantasy land, it's not hate. I love his music. The two things can be true. They can be true. Like Rick John Wick is not a real person, but his movies are awesome.
Yeah. Rick and Trick are not the same guy with the same background.
Yes.
They're just not.
Shout out to Revenge. What's up, No Ceilings? What up, my boy? No, this is literally the best Kendrick album I played. It's by far the best Kendrick album, Revenge. 22 times. It's by far the best album.
Yeah.
Like, it's the best album by far.
Yeah.
It's by far the best album. Shout out to my boy EP. What's happening? This is my first time seeing you in the chat. No glasses. We tired. Y'all bullying our rappers and killing them. We haven't killed anybody.
Okay, just real quick. And I need
Who are
EP EP, can you comment back on this question? Who are our rappers to you? That's all because I don't know you.
So EP is, shout out to my boy E Props from Flatbush. What up, kid? What's the deal? But that's not us, bro. Even what happened with Big was a professional job. It had nothing to do with the street. None of us didn't like Big, bro. Niggas played.
Does he mean it like
music.
that? He meant it literally?
I think so, yeah.
I thought he just meant like you're bashing the rappers that he likes, or so, like, or the audience's rappers at large. I like that could have been taken a lot of ways. I just wanted to make sure we took it the right way.
Shout out to Bella Max for the $50. She bought us lunch on her own today.
God
you are the greatest. Thank you so much. Welcome back, Adonai R. Bruce. I hate it. I don't hate him, or I don't know. I don't think most people hate Drake. Even the guys that say they hate him, I don't think nobody hate Drake. But it's just okay.
He's Maple Street. You know, it's cool.
So the thing is, right? Like, this is a really talented guy. He's a well-studied guy, and he's a genius and a creative monster in his own rights. But there's a confusion. He does not empower the culture. The culture empowered him.
Who was the guy? There was a white guy who was big in jazz, authentic jazz, not Kenny G. I'm talking like in the 1950s.
You talking about
he's like him.
He's like Kenny G, yes.
No, he's not like Kenny G. He's like that other guy that I'm thinking of, whose name I can't get right now.
That other guy, I think he's Kenny G.
No, this is 30 years before Kenny, 40 years before KG.
Oh.
But he played authentic, real, like, he played like jazz as it was, like jazz, not 94.7 in the afternoon jazz.
No, because he don't know. I think he's Kenny G. I think Drake plays jazz horn. I think he plays the sax over pop records. That's pretty much what he does. But it's still good jams.
Sure.
It's still great jams. Like, there's nobody hate this guy. Niggas love this nigga music. I like his. Everybody likes his music.
He doesn't feel
Somebody
like
said Al
it's
Jarreau in the chat, or Chet Baker, or Dave Burbick. Nah, they all Al Jarreau. Shout out to Al Jarreau too. I don't. Again, it's a different conversation, right? It's like, and this is why I be saying where it's a weird thing when people talk about hip hop, and then when it comes to the West, it could be identified like, well, you only think this is a great album because it sounds like the West Coast. Well, I think Reasonable Doubt is a great album because it sounds like New York, and I think 400 Degrees is a fantastic album because it sounds like New Orleans, and I think Untouchable is a fantastic album because it sounds like Houston, and I think Bones' first album is a great EP because it sounds like Cleveland. That's hip hop. That's fucking hip hop. If a West Coast artist raps over Southern beats, it's pop music. That's what y'all don't get. This is what pop music does. They take successful genres of music, they take seasoning out of it, and then make it digestible for everybody. It's Taco Bell. It's what Taco Bell represents to Mexican food. It's what Kentucky Fried Chicken represents to soul food. It's the same effort. So it's just weird to me that the West Coast gets singled out like that. It's just weird. It's just weird. Shout out to EP. See, justifying what the West do. He got killed because of Puff. That's wrong. It's not the West. Every move that happens in California is not a representation of our street urban culture. Every move is not a thing that we decide openly, like, hey, we have a problem like that. Like, nobody had a problem with Big, bro. Nobody had a problem with Big on the streets at all. Like, people wasn't saying fuck Big, and I was in the prime of my life during that beef. I was coming into my adulthood. You know what I'm saying? So nobody was like, man, fuck Biggie. Even when they were warring with Pac and Biggie, even when Pac died, nobody was like, man, fuck Big. Nobody thought Big had anything to do with it. Nobody thought Big, so it was never a collaborative effort of the streets to get rid of Big. Like, that's just, I can't say us. Same thing with what's the brother name that got killed at Roscoe's, PNB Rock. That was not a collaborative effort of our streets to hurt another rapper. That was just somebody wearing a lot of jewelry in a location where poor people, you feel me, congregate. And you know what I mean? He had a situation where somebody tried to rob him, things went bad, and they killed him. That can happen in every ghetto in America. That can happen in every ghetto in America. But this is ridiculous, EP. There's no way we could all hate the East Coast. The reason we rap, period, and make hip hop is because of the East Coast. That don't even make sense. So, but as far as that, I just really been thinking about it. I think people genuinely hate the West Coast. I'm telling you, I think people hate the West Coast. Now, listen, Glasses Loke is different. I go everywhere and I get love. That's true. You know what I'm saying? I really get love. I don't have, but again, I'm just one person out of the West. You know what I'm saying? But I'm telling you, when you hear somebody say Glasses, when you hear somebody say, man, Glasses, you only like the new Kendrick album because it sounds like the West Coast. That's just crazy. I don't know. I've never in my life heard that about Future's album. And y'all only like Future album. Y'all only saying Dirty Sprite 2 is a classic because it sounds so Southern. That's just weird. What am I missing, Pete?
I think that there is an inherent, like, how do I say it? I think most of the rest of the country looks at the LA hip hop scene as being like fortuitously located such that its impact and influence is outsized to that degree, and there's some resentment there. That would be my speculation. Like if the industry was located in another town, Chicago or Dallas or somewhere else, where you were adjacent to the movie industry, where all the music was made there, or whatever else, like anything that comes out of there just has to be from out of there, and its impact or influence or its regard or whatever is like, I think things like artificially propped up in a sense. Whereas if you're from Timbuktu, there's more, it's more of an uphill battle. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that maybe some of that, like, oh, well, it's not any better than MC so-and-so from God knows where. It just happens to be that it's 17 seconds from the epicenter of all things marketing, distribution, and broadcasting. Therefore, it gets blown up through the stratosphere just purely for existing. You know what I'm saying? I think that there is some of that.
Yeah, but
not to say it's right or wrong. Listen. I just think that that's some of the psychology.
Shout out to my brother DT. Same reason they hate the Lakers. Laughing out loud, crying. Now listen, I'm not saying I don't understand why we're on a sonic island. I definitely understand sonically why we are on an island. You know what I mean? The West did adopt funk. You know what I mean? And everybody else kind of went other places. The Midwest kind of went more R&B when it came to their hip hop, right? You start thinking Do or Die, Bone, Kanye. It's more R&B into it. The South went more to blues. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. So I get again, the West is on, a sonic island, right? Because we are far from the rest of
There's like people. 700 miles of sand between the 15 freeway and the 35.
That's facts. So I get why, sonically we can seem on an island, right? Because we do have a different weather. We do have a dreamy weather. We do have a festive scene even in the winter. You feel me? I get it. I'm not disagreeing with that. Shout out to Revenge who makes, this is what I'm talking about. I don't think you guys get how harsh the West signature sound is to the typical ear of a Southerner. If you don't attempt more than 5 listens, it's hard to understand the word of sound. Ironically, Revenge, that's the point I'm saying.
I do get that. Like, I've lived out of California a lot of my life.
Yeah, and that's the point that I'm saying. I don't disagree. That's my point. I get why the sound it's different. Like the South kind of has a united sound together. There are nuanced differences. What Houston does is not quite what Atlanta does, but that's not quite what Memphis does, and that's not quite what Miami does. There are nuanced differences. Go ahead.
At the same time, also in that part of the country, there's a purple spectrum. St. Louis, for being Midwest, it's very Southy. You got guys that come out of Louisville. Louisville is not really the South. It's not really the Midwest. If you think of it in terms of geography, like Australia, like Perth, it's like the most remote major city in the world. It's like on the west coast of Australia. Sure. It's separated by forever. California is separated by a huge gap. So it's not like you drift a little over to Phoenix. And Phoenix sounds a little Texas. It sounds a little California. No. It's just a lot of California transplants moved east out to 10, and it doesn't have its own identity. And then you go beyond that, and it's no man's land for 1,000 miles. It's not like
you get to Texas.
Yeah, and even so, like Texas is right by New Orleans, it's right by Memphis, it's right by. I mean, it's as far from St. Louis to Memphis as it is from LA to Vegas.
But that's my point, though. You know what I'm saying? My point is California is, as far as urban culture, we're on the island.
Yeah,
like you could see why New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia.
I wouldn't expect Philly to sound terribly different than New York. I wouldn't.
But the sonics of the music don't. The accent, the culture of how they talk does, but the sonics of the music is not far.
Tri-state area.
Exactly, because again, it's an hour to get
even LA and the Bay are further apart than
New
Philly
York
and Baltimore.
Yeah, which is in Maryland, which is 4 states over. That's my point. So we are on an island. So I get to every fan out there. Shout out to every fan. Again, this is No Ceilings Live, the lunch hour, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, noon Pacific Standard Time. I know you at work. We here to kind of have this conversation while you at work. You feel me? And entertain you while you eating your lunch before you get back to that cubicle or you get back to operating on that patient or whatever you got to do when that 1 o'clock time hits. Click the thumbs up button. Let everybody know you're here. Go under the description. Subscribe to the No Ceilings Podcast ASAP today. Subscribe to the No Ceilings Podcast on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you get your podcasts. The No Ceilings Podcast, executive produced by Charlamagne the God, Black Effect Network, and iHeart. So, it's surgeons that's in No Ceilings. It's surgeons that I got a DM from a surgeon who says he loves the lunch hour. And he really listened to it on his lunch break. For real. I ain't joking.
Nice.
So, this lunch hour worked out for all of you productive human beings that's here. It's at a reasonable time.
My dad's getting surgery as we speak.
Right so now. You hopefully the same guy. Homie again. Shout out to Kelvin. Kelvin said, I'm an engineer. If it's a flex, it is a flex in those ceilings, Kelvin, that you are an engineer. It might not be a flex in other places, but Kelvin,
to me.
In the lunch hour, that's a flex, Brody. And I'm happy an engineer is here having this intelligent conversation. I hope the conversations inspire you outside to have doper conversations with your homeboys at the barbershop when you're taking your time off from work. But definitely being an engineer is a flex. So again, right? We are on a sonic island, right? We are on a sonic island. The South does share common themes and sounds. The Midwest, all of those states are close, so they do share a common theme and sound. And there's multiple cultures, right, that make it work. You know what I mean? Chicago has its own mainstay in culture. Detroit, which is not that far, Cleveland, all these places are hours from each other. Mind you, to get out of California, like to go to the northernest state in California, you feel me, would take you 16 hours driving.
That's fucking terrible.
To go to the eastest state, right, which would be Nevada or you know what I mean, or Arizona, that's 4 to 5 hours. You feel me? So we don't share what the rest of the country share. You know what I'm saying? But even Arizona, Portland, Seattle, Nevada, those places are far. Like, remember, you could be in New York City. Shout out to Spaced Out Pharaoh, because that's true. We do have AZ. We do have Oregon. We do have Washington. We do have Nevada. We do have New Mexico. We do have Colorado. That is all the West. But those places are far.
They're far, and to a degree, I lived in Oakland for a couple of years. It's kind of the same weather-wise, but it's kind of not. Like, you're not. It's cold. It's colder. You go into Portland and Seattle. A lot of what makes California culture, Southern California culture work is the outdoor, the summer, all that. That's not there in Portland and Seattle. It's cold all the goddamn time. People move different. It's a different lifestyle.
Shout out to Jeremy Cole. Thank you for being in the chat, my boy. I don't care what Sonic you're from. If TV off ain't hitting for you, I don't know if you can be helped. Facts. That's facts.
And shout out to Portland, because Portland has, just frankly speaking, I didn't realize I was on MLK in Portland one time and I saw a Nike place. MLK in Portland is the whitest street I've ever been on in my life.
Shout out to DC. I'm a really honest salesman. My boy really is an honest salesman. Shout out to Bella Mac. This is a great question. Why is it whenever I visit a state down south or Midwest, they never want me to play West Coast music? They say the West Coast is whack when it comes to music. I think that's because, again, it's not so much of what's happening. I think what's happening in hip hop, it's getting lost on the music. Yeah. And I think it's because of the last 15 years, the people in power. I think J. Cole makes a very, digestible version of pop music. You know what I mean? That has a hip hop front. You know what I mean? It has a rap face. That has a hip hop face. But it's a little bit more gentrified and pasteurized. It doesn't truly have a home. You don't get the culture that's from North Carolina. And again, even with Drake, you don't get the true street urban culture of Toronto. Hip hop was built on culture.
Just look at the cultural sense you get from listening to J. Cole versus P.D. Pablo.
Yeah, like exactly. Great. Yeah, or the baby.
Yeah,
or the baby. Feel the country twang in the baby. You could feel the country twang in P.D. Pablo, but even what they do is not as, let's say, as country as an Outkast or as country as, let's say, even a Juvenile. Yeah. Right? There is still a subtle difference.
100%. And all the rappers that come out of Memphis and stuff, they're very and generally, like it, like you say, it is a different tempo. It's a different sound. It's a different. It's like a whole. It's not like I don't hear West Coast music out here, you know. But songs, if you're at a place, they kind of flow from one to another, and then you don't flow as seamlessly in and out of a West Coast song in an ocean of Southern songs.
Well, again, the tempo is a world of different, right? If you coming from a 62 BPM song to a 100 BPM song, it's a night and day different. But again, that's truly what sound is. Sound is not so much the fact that we build it off of funk, but it's the pace of life, right? The heartbeats per minute, the beats per minute.
It's not like the old school synthesizer sound. It's the You're really changing what you're doing on the dance floor when you come in and out of that like that in that
regard. But mind you, you know what I mean? It's like the South and the Midwest tempos are close to the same.
Yeah.
The East Coast and our tempos are close to the same. But again, music going from here to there means it needs to pass places that have really great music.
Sure. So and the South and the Midwest are more country parts of the more country parts of the country. They're more rural parts of the country in that sense.
Shout out to my brother Tyson Garcia. I see you. I'm glad you're here today, man. You made it. You're still on time. Bam. This is a great tweet. Shout out to the homies on. You know why I love Twitter, bro? Twitter is really the smartest platform. You meet the most smart people and intelligent people on Twitter. I think Instagram is for people that ain't really that bright. Maybe TikTok and Snapchat are the worst, but Twitter for sure are the smartest people on social media. So shout out to X, shout out to Elon for getting that, because I really think the greatest contributors of social media content comes from Twitter.
I spent an hour trying to set up a new Twitter like 4 days ago. Still no, totally different device, different to all of it.
I got to hit Elon to get you back.
I don't know what the fuck.
I hit Elon.
I tried like 4 different names.
Shout out to Bam. But wouldn't you say the internet has bridged a lot of sounds over the lands, though? But that's the problem. See, you got to get off the internet, right? Because that's not where hip hop lives. Hip hop is not the internet. Hip hop is outside the front door, the way people talk. Culture, the internet doesn't have a culture. The internet is mainstream. It's pop.
The internet has no channels, essentially. So as much as the internet, you could look at it and in theory think, oh, the internet has no walls. It's a landscape that, you know, it's also a landscape that lends itself to people congregating into like myopic ecosystems. You know, that's very true. Like ideologically, people think the same way. They block everyone that disagrees with them, and they congregate to everyone that thinks like them.
Sure. So you missing out on the experience anyway, which means you scary to go outside because that shit is outside. Shout out to Lux Dirty. I remember G Malone and me having an hour-long conversation about why Drake is pop and not hip hop. I remember that conversation, Tracks. That was and it's funny because people think that like I hate him versus really that this is just my simple stance.
Yeah,
like
he's great. It's not hip hop.
Yes, it's just not. That don't mean he's not fantastic or dope. It's just crazy that people confuse the two. Like, oh, it's because I don't like you. Like that don't matter. It's people in hip hop. That don't make music half as good as Drake. Like it's so many people in hip hop that are nowhere near great at making records or culturally, you know, purveying, you know, what they should, that I don't enjoy in hip hop itself. You know what I mean?
And I guarantee you, somewhere and not somewhere small either. I just don't go there. That there is this same exact conversation happening about some mammoth of a country artist that everybody who's a purist thinks, well, they're not country, they're pop. I promise you that is happening.
Shout out to Bam. I was a middle schooler in Chicago, obsessed with West Coast music. I thought everyone was a Crip over there. Bam, I don't know what is the bridge between Chicago and the West, you know, especially Southern California.
Those goddamn pea stones.
But some reason there's a serious bridge that we get each other. Because I feel the same way about Do or Die. I feel the same way. I don't know why, but we get it. You feel me?
They're not simping heavy over there.
Yeah, and they players. but again, this is my point though. Pete, no. And this is what I can't get. This is what I be on my homeboys at the community about. Problem, all my friends, Joey, Deuce, all my whole team.
Goddamn, you know Joey and Deuce.
The connection is culture. Yeah. That's the thing. Like the Sonic was never the same, right? It could have been a little closer, maybe back in the 90s, because everybody was that far removed from Leon Haywood. You know, the whole country, the whole Black America was 20 years removed, 15 years removed from Leon Haywood's I Want to Do Something Freaky. Right. And then Dr. Dre comes out, right? Dr. Dre comes out and he makes G Thing with Snoop Dogg off of this Black classic across the country. So maybe we did share that in common versus now where hip hop is starting to create on its own. And that's actually a great point. Damn. I just had a crazy epiphany, bro.
What is the great point?
Well, in the 90s, right? When damn, that's actually brilliant, cuz. So in the 90s, when West Coast hip hop started to take off, right, and become this dominant presence in hip hop, right? We had our moment. Remember, Dre and them was sampling records from 10 to 20 years ago. But these records were considered Black classics.
Sure.
Black classics, right? Leon Haywood, I Want to Do Something Freaky, right? That's the sample for G Thing, right? But every Black person, because we didn't have a ton of music in the 70s.
100%. That's why that one Peasy song, was it A Million or whatever the hell? That hit. It's that principle. It's not my favorite song. It's not the best song he's ever done, in my opinion, at all. But it's the one that hit the most.
But every Black person in the it didn't matter if you were in Chicago. It didn't matter if you were in New York. It didn't matter if you was in Florida, Atlanta. They all played Funkadelic. They all played Leon Haywood. They all played all of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They played this music, all the Black people. So when Dre and them, sonically, there was a closer bridge.
100%.
There was a closer bridge. And I think
everybody
where the West could truly benefit is if they realize that there are Black songs that do come from the 2000s that are Black classic songs amongst the whole country.
Yeah.
What I think hip hop is doing, especially West Coast hip hop, and I'll be the first person to say this. If I do have a critique on the music side of our artistic expression of street urban culture, we are Corrupt, We Can Freak It is a West Coast classic. That's not a Black classic around the country on the underground level. That's a West Coast classic, right? And this goes to the point I've been telling Joey. I'm trying to get away with not sampling rap songs. I think hip hop is really hurting itself by sampling rap songs. Right now, there are some rap songs you can sample, but I think we're really hurting ourselves by kind of taking this great idea that we made off of great ideas and then sampling that. It's like making a gourmet meal out of a top ramen.
It's multiplicity. Remember the movie with the guy who played Batman?
Yeah.
Where they have the original guy and he clones himself because he wanted to go to work and be a dad, and then they clone the clone and they clone the clone and they clone the clone, and then like number 5 was half retarded.
Damn.
What was the name of that guy? Keaton. Michael Keaton played in the movie. Stupid
Yeah.
movie, but it's a fair point. If you copy a copy and copy a copy of a copy, and the same thing's true with like a photocopy. If you take the original picture, you copy that, less quality, copy that, copy that, copy that, copy that, etc.
No, but think about it, bro. That's what's wrong. That's what's being lost on the West.
And that's kind of true with Houston.
I'm gonna tell you why. Because a California classic can be a gold album. You know what I mean? A gold single, and never have to get past. Never has to get to any other culture.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I was thinking about that on Saturday. I was like, you can make insular West Coast marketplace music, and
it could
do just great, and no one gives a shit east of Gilbert, Arizona,
right? And or past New Mexico, and I'm realizing what's
there's only 7 people there.
Fusion and in the sonics, right? It's not the sonics because we all use the same sounds across the country, but I think that's the difference with Dr. Dre, Snoop, Cube. They were using black classics around the whole country. So the country were more accepting of the melody and what they were doing their rap music over. And then at that point, it just became the words. You know what's funny?
DJ Screw when he started.
Yes.
DJ Screw wasn't just slowing shit down. He was making the beats and they were rapping over it. But all the songs that hit like pre-Lil Flip Platinum, like 99, 2000, 2001, those were all R&B classic songs, and they rapped over them, and they were fine. And then he slowed them down, and they became super fine. But they were all common songs.
Marcel, yes. I mean, Motown gets the same slack that Dr. Dre gets, right? Because Dr. Dre took urban classics and added kind of string leads to them using a Moog keyboard, right? A lead. Yeah. And he does take criticism for his sound being pop because that is what pop is. It fills a sonic lane for the buying population past us. That's the same argument that people have when it comes to Stax Records and Motown Records. Motown Records had these big string section, and Stax Records out of Tennessee just played the groove. That's the separation.
And that's why, and this is probably a controversial take, Dr. Dre, if he didn't have Snoop to really bring that street cultural element visually and also in the way he rapped to those beats, if it was just Dre rapping over those beats or somebody else, Dre, oddly enough, because Dre was big before Snoop had any career like that, chronologically speaking, Dre benefited from Snoop more than Snoop benefited from Dre in that regard.
I always say, listen, I was at, I didn't want to say it out loud, but I'm gonna make sure I get with Dog. Dre needs Dog.
Yeah.
Like at the cornerstone, because he dirties up the cleanness of what Dr. Dre does.
100%.
Like Snoop is such a cultural phenomenon on his own, bro. Like the way, even as an adult, that he carries himself and he never took his hands off the culture says a lot about what he is when it comes to being a hip hop artist. And culturally, he's so accepted by still being the culture by mainstream America. It's almost unbelievable.
Here's a question. You look at the 3 main individual acts that Dre did. Snoop, Eminem, 50, right? Those would be the biggest ones. Each of those 3 guys individually are earth shakers. If J. Cole, if his career didn't have anything before does Dr. Dre and J. Cole work?
No.
I don't think so either.
It's not seasoned enough for Dr. Dre's plate. It's not seasoned enough for the plate of music he creates.
Dre is a boneless, skinless chicken breast. People eat boneless chicken more than any other kind of chicken.
Facts.
But you gotta put a lot of shit on it.
And Snoop is when they fry it with a bunch of seasoning. Snoop is fried chicken. Eminem,
Red Rooster.
Yes. Facts. I agree. That's a great point. And Eminem is
White Rooster. God, I fucked it up. No, I'm just kidding.
Eminem is like what do white people do to their chicken that they all love?
He's a vinaigrette-based marinade.
Is he just like pepper?
Something like that. Or he's just clean grilled chicken with some sort of vinaigrette sauce. So,
Yeah,
something like
pepper.
that.
He's just pepper.
Yeah.
And I love pepper. And everybody loves pepper.
Pepper does well. Pepper has done very well for itself.
So Snoop is hot sauce. For sure, he's Red Rooster, for sure. M is just black pepper. And Fifth
might be
barbecue sauce.
Maybe it is.
Probably is barbecue sauce. For Dre's Sonic plain chicken breast, that's what it is. That's a great point. I thought that when I was listening to the music, I'm like, this music is really clean. Yeah. Dre is like such a dope ass nigga with Sonics, bro. This nigga is incredible with this shit. But I think he can over clean it.
Oh yeah.
Snoop is so fucking filthy that is like, nigga, this is hot sauce. Like it didn't even matter if there's no seasoning on this beat.
It's gonna be hot no matter what.
It's gonna have some flavor. Yeah. Once you sprinkle that fucking Snoop on that shit gonna turn into some shit. I agree. Yeah. Shout out to Bam. But how do you conserve a genre of music while still distributing to the masses for consumption? At some point, it's going to be watered down by mimics and posers, right? That's called pop music. It's supposed to be. But the difference is we know it's pop music.
Bam's on a bit of a roll today. We're going to give...
That's Twitter, though, man. The motherfuckers on Twitter, bro, they be sharp. You got the traditional trolls, but most of the people on Twitter is for smart people because there's no pictures most of the time. You have to read. Sure. So, niggas who don't like reading don't be on Twitter.
Yeah.
And most people that's kind of like pride themselves on a level of ignorance, reading. You know what I mean? Just reading.
Yeah, I tried to make a comment that was sort of required thought on Instagram. I have been getting moronic responses to a comment about the California Water Project for 3 weeks.
I'm crying. They were like, we need to teach
3 fucking weeks. You need to read something. Bro, I've read over 1,000 pages about that.
Shout out to Freddie Mac. Glasses, I heard you say you plan on getting some movies going on the Community. With a good movie and a West Coast soundtrack, the sound is undeniable. Yes, look, I heard y'all talking about that, right? The film, again, I tell y'all all the time, most of the understanding you have on street urban culture in Los Angeles is because we have Hollywood showcasing us, right? So you get the cultural lessons and then you got the music after. You got Doughboy. You didn't get Doughboy as a rapper until Snoop came out, right? That's when
you got a great movie concept.
What's that?
A modern day version of Above the Rim, but set to California high school football and call it NIL. Because now you got so much corruption with the handlers and the agents poaching all these 16-year-olds from the hood, trying to get, their money, find their college, almost kind of a combination of He Got Game and Above the Rim, set in LA with the LA West Coast soundtrack.
Shout out to Squishy. They don't watch the chicken, I'll tell you that. Yeah, they definitely don't watch the chicken. But chicken ain't got to be washed. I don't know what black people's fear of.
Yeah, you're cooking it. You can't wash it any more thoroughly than putting it over fire.
Yeah. Black people have this fear of salmonella. And I've never met anybody in my life who had salmonella poisoning.
I feel like, that's E. coli. Never mind. I was like, a lot of the shit that comes off of like lettuce and shit.
Yeah. Shout out to Bam once again for the Twitter honesty. I just be watching and listening. Your points are articulated where I feel like I can give some pushback, but I love the level of intellectual honesty. And that's the point.
Bam's my boy. Bam could come over anytime he wants to.
Yeah, you good money, bro. Because honestly, I say this when I speak. It don't matter which platform. When I go on Breakfast Club, everything is with good faith. Like I'm not trolling ever. Like these are things that I've read and I studied and I've formulated an opinion. It don't make me correct. Like I'm sure there's some things that I need more information on, but I also did work and everything I'm saying is out of good faith. It's not like I'm trying to guide people into anything that I believe. I'm just giving you my thought, right? That's the point of social media, is to share thoughts with other people and push your intellect and gain more information. Shout out to Adonai R. Bruce. If you making movies glasses, please complete Monster Cody's project. Please don't play his new African nationalism. Don't downplay.
I don't know anything about that, but it was funny.
We was talking about doing the Cody movie too. That's crazy you saying that. We were talking about trying to get our hands on it. His son followed me on Instagram, so I've been thinking about getting my hands on the Cody film for a while. I think that's a movie that people need to see. But again, it's like back to the West Coast point and me saying that, it's like, no, I like all my hip hop. I love all my hip hop, bro. Like, very culturally true. Like, I don't want to, like, don't get me wrong. Listen, I enjoy, Jay-Z's album, Rock La Familia, right? I could tell he made that for the West Coast, right? I enjoy Snoop's first album with No Limit, where he went and made an album for the South, right? I enjoy Jay-Z's Rock La Familia that he made for the West. I enjoy when bigger artists take time and they make music for other regions, over other regions' idea. But again, that's not the cornerstone of what makes those artists great. Hip hop is culture. Back to that film idea, right? Hip hop is culture. It leads with culture before music. So that's why the films help Southern California and Northern California so well, because they told you about our culture, and then the artists come and voice the characters from the culture. That's it. But there is more work to be done with the music, and the difference in a Dr. Dre and how that was able to work with Snoop, Cube, and all of those stuff back then versus now, where we have the benefit of 30 to 40 years of West Coast hip hop that we're leaning on. But then some of the ideas, right, never had to pass New Mexico, never had to pass Colorado, never had to pass Idaho, right? They never had to pass these places for them to be gold success. So it's like there is work to be done with the music, because you guys all are aware of the culture of the West. Now it's like the music has to come in and do damage.
Sure.
Now the music has to come in and do damage. You know what I'm saying? And I'm this conversation, not only did we share things with y'all that made sense, but I really felt like I got something that's instrumental in the move, you know what I mean, of what needs to happen with music on the West, right? It's dope. You know what I'm saying? So man, it's crazy, Pete, when I think about it, bro.
What's your take, like early Too Short, early E40, Click, and all those guys? They had from the 80s through into the 90s, kind of they had a sound that was, related to one another. It was very similar.
Yeah.
And then you get Rick Rock and Trax a Million, other guys who really hit that new that 2.0 hyphy kind of sound up in the Bay that did kind of go more national, but it was a pretty distinguished break in sound from the previous kind of 1.0. What's your take on that, its applicability to LA in theory, or just any of it in general? You know what I mean? I don't see, like, it's another example of like a West Coast city that did have like a pivot sonically, so to speak.
So the music didn't go further. So like Too Short and E40 are still the cultural icon standards for the Bay Area, right?
Sure.
And their music was very much rooted in funk. They come from the home of Confunction. Frankie Beverly and Mace made their home there. So they kept it true to the music culture. Shout out to Spice One and all of those guys. Those are different type of icons in hip hop.
Sure.
I think I don't quite know. I definitely don't agree that the hyphy sound was bigger than their sound.
I'm not saying bigger. That's not what I'm saying at all.
The culture of hyphy was more identifiable.
Sure. I would equate it similarly to like Scarface Houston versus
Dallas.
UGK Screw, etc.
No, Dallas and the D-Town Boogie when they had their runs.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like Houston's the Scarface, the Screw sound versus Dallas and the Boogie, right? Where you could see the Dallas culture, the Dougie, the way they were dancing.
Yeah.
That's what you got when you got the hyphy movement versus the traditional, what we call the mob sound in the Bay Area, like mob funk, right? So you can see it sooner. You could see it with Fab. You could see the culture. You could see the way they move. You could see the cars. The culture itself really became really identifiable. You know what I mean? You could see it a mile away, and they started talking and all of that stuff. But I still think the original mob sound was, you know, created larger records and larger artists.
Sure. I'm not comparing them. I'm just saying, like, as so far as like that there was a distinction of two pretty like different types of feels.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think those guys, I don't know if they're.
I don't know if it's different as much as they got away from the bass, but then they didn't really, because Rick Rock was still doing some stuff, and some of the t-shirt, blue jean t-shirts and Nikes is still a funk song. You know what I mean? Shout out to Keith.
Like high, like Federation.
Yeah, but that's like Rick. That. Rick is gonna make, because all of that stuff was funky too. It is when it got the tracks and all them, they weren't really funk men.
Sure.
They weren't really funk men. Much love, EP. Man, I'm glad you came. Make sure you here Wednesday, man. No Ceilings Live, the lunch hour. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon. Feel me? We cooking. We rounding it out. We coming to an end. We did really good numbers again today. Thank y'all for showing up. We'll keep this thing going.
Dr. Dre is going to hate my guts.
No, he's not. Dr. Dre really prides himself.
He shouldn't give a shit about me.
Dr. Dre really prides himself. He knows that he makes a really great product.
Sure.
And I don't think he's really worried about keeping it at this point. You feel me? Like maybe back in his day he cared, but he be on my ass about it. So I don't think he give a fuck.
Yeah.
But I agree that he is a well-prepared chicken breast. And that's what he prepares musically, right? That's what
I'll say, because I doubled down between the boneless, skinless chicken breast and then the chronic inflammation joke from last week.
But I like Dr. Dre prepares well prepared chicken breast, perfect temperature.
Yeah.
And Snoop is just red rooster hot sauce. Eminem is pepper, and 50 Cent is barbecue sauce. I like that. And that's why right now, because Eminem, even the Eminem Dr. Dre record, it was good. Obviously, it's correct. I'll use that term. It's done correctly. Like Eminem is like, I'll rap that motherfucker. That motherfucker nice. You know, but again, I think he doesn't have this. His pepper is smaller. It used to be coarse. Like Eminem used to have a coarse black pepper, like big flakes of pepper. So when you would eat it, you'd be like, God damn, this motherfucker is seasoned. Versus now where he's like the shillings.
Now it's like the shaker. That's
the little shaker thing, and it's not as seasoned. Like it's like
it's kind of like white pepper, oddly enough.
Huh?
It's like white pepper, oddly enough.
Oddly enough, right? And it's not coarse anymore. Prime Eminem is coarse black pepper, coarse, big coarse pieces of black pepper. New Eminem is like granulated black pepper, like it's just on there. You feel me? But again, it is 50. He got kids, grew up, you know, he filthy rich. Lord knows the type of shit he probably go through. I don't even want to get into when people start losing their thorns to some degree, as far as feeling like they can challenge the status quo. I don't think that's where he's at anymore. I think he is the status quo. So I don't know if it makes sense for him to challenge it.
Sure.
And 50, I heard the 50 Cent Snoop and Dre record, 50 Cent M and Snoop record, and he's still barbecue sauce.
He's on the new one?
Yeah, he going crazy. And he's barbecue sauce. He is that motherfucker. And 50 is just a salty nigga.
Man,
he's flavor like to a point sometimes be like, God damn, Fifth, fucking shit.
Not to be repeated in front of however many audience are listening to this.
Sure.
I was silently
1,500. So whatever you say.
That's 3,000 zipped lips. But no, Malcolm wanted my take on something, and I was on a call with him and 50. This is a couple of years, but it's a long time ago. But 50 was just spitting wisdom the way he does it on this call, talking to Malcolm about A, B, C, D, F, G within the the film industry and whatnot. That dude is a phenom. That guy's a fucking monster.
Yeah, he's.
I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
He's another cultural icon. That's like 50 is like shit, man. Yeah. He get it, bro. Like
you realize there's no idiot bumpkins that go diamond.
Yeah,
sorry. Sorry.
50 is gross nasty with this shit, man. And he know it. Like that's I look up to a lot of stuff 50 Cent does, like Snoop and Ice-T. Certain people to me who really stay cultured.
No one transcends by accident.
Yeah. Like and the world had to accept him for who he is. Like, you know what I mean? Shout out to Freddie Mac. Do you think Joe Budden is hip hop from the outsider analyst standpoint, or do you see him as a reliable hip hop purist that played the game? I mean, can't nobody argue that Joe Budden's a hip hop dude like that. That's not even a thought. That motherfucker like love this shit. He loves it to a fucking fault.
Joe Budden's almost so hip hop that he manipulates the definition of hip hop.
Yeah, Joe is just a different breed. He's, you know what I mean? I guess I can see why people don't think he comes across street, but he is very much a hip hop guy. You know what I mean? He's just a different kind of dude that is coming through, but he know this shit like the back of his hand. You know what I mean? That motherfucker know his shit. Joe just, you know what? Real story. Before we get out of here. Real story. I'm gonna tell you the 3 things, my experiences with Joe Budden, and this is the kind of nigga Joe is, right? 3 things, 3 time markers with Joe Budden. I could write a song about this. I may turn this into a song called "Fucking with Joe Budden." The first time I ever heard Joe Budden know who I was, he was doing an interview on a satellite radio station. And he was complaining that he felt the industry wasn't rewarding the best talent, right? As far as lyricists, because Joe is a guy that's heavy on lyricism and he fuck with records, but he is more of a lyricism. He's one of those guys in the hip hop front that's like, nigga, fuck all that. It's about the shit you're saying, right? Sure. That's Joe, like, right? So he's on a radio interview. He was like, yeah, I've been trying to get a song with Akon for years now. It's been 2 years. And then I listened on the radio and he has a song with this guy, Glasses Malone. Who the fuck is a Glasses Malone? So that's the first time I heard Joe know who I was.
I was saying that at 3:04 today.
Right? So
12:04.
Who the fuck is a Glasses Malone? And I remember thinking like, yeah, we finna get his ass. We finna beat him up, right? So I called my people at the airport, right? Because I knew he's coming through LAX often. So I'm like, yeah, hey, next time Joe Budden's come, you tell me, and we're going to pull up there. We're going to mop cuz up at the airport. So I had it set up, even when he came, right? So we was pushing. We was going to the airport. We finna put this nigga in the hospital because we like, yeah, you finna meet the loc firsthand today. Here's your day because you finna see why Akon fuck with me.
I don't wish that happened to him. God, I wish that story happened. God.
Right, so we finna mop cuz up bad. I mean, I got my crew too. That's like wreckers. I'm with my niggas. That's real. This is my homeboys that we wreck shop like hospital. You going like Joe was gonna be in the hospital bad. Like it was nothing he could do. I don't care who he came with. Hospital, because if it was any extra people, they'd have probably been in the morgue. Because this is gangbanger glasses. I'm being honest.
And they just got out security anyway. So.
Yeah, this is 2007-8 glasses. This is gang member glasses. This is not hip hop. I love the genre that'll squabble you up. No, this is like glasses you play with my reputation, like gangbangers, and I'm gonna show you why you shouldn't. So we was gonna put Joe in the hospital straight up. I swear to God, that was the task. It was all on. Everybody was happy about it.
Everybody was happy about it.
Like we was gonna fuck us over. So we're driving to the airport, and I told Fab, Mr. Fab in the Bay Area, I said, "Oh yeah, we finna go beat up Joe Budden." He's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Man, that nigga said my name at this radio station. So me and the homies, we finna tackle cuz and put him in the hospital." That's how we talk. Like when we get put cuz in the hospital. So we driving over there. I get off the phone with him.
Did Fab leak it?
Huh?
Did Fab leak it?
Fab called Royce, the 5'9". And Royce was somebody who I fuck with. I'd already talked to Royce, and I fuck with Fab. They called me on three-way, and Royce and Joe were friends. And he started to appeal to me about, like, man, gee, this dude just be talking. He don't be knowing who he talking about. I'm like, I'm listening to him, but in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm finna go put this nigga in the hospital. Like, Glasses, look, man, I know you new in the business, but if you fuck with me, man, please don't hurt this nigga. And I knew I liked hip hop, and I knew I liked Royce. I knew I fucked with Royce the 5'9". To this day, I fuck with Royce the 5'9". And I remember just thinking, like, fuck, man, like, damn, man, like, and I remember telling my homeboys, like, just turn around, bro. He like, why? I'm like, man, just turn around. So we go back to the 7, and Royce puts me on the phone with Joe probably like 2 hours later. He like, man, Royce, them dudes was, he tell Joe, them dudes was coming up there to hurt you. And I'm like, so we talk, and at that point, me and Joe, you know, had a relationship, like a good relationship for the most part, because Joe is one of them kind of people. He just a different kind of dude. So that was the first time me and Joe had an interaction.
Royce is not allowed on the podcast until I get to go. I got to go to lunch and really understand why he ruined such a great story for me.
Exactly. We go bring Royce here. Second time that Joe Budden's fucked up my life. These are the 3 times Joe Budden fucked up my life.
Dude, so we got a versus story for the song, bro.
Second time Joe Budden's fucked up my life. Joe Budden's in 2011 understood what podcasting and live streaming was in 2011.
Yeah.
That's how long this motherfucking hip hop intellect giant ass nigga got this shit. He been fucking with this shit for a long time, cuz he know, like, that nigga act crazy. He not stupid, bro. This nigga sharp.
Yeah.
So we're on his tour bus. I'm on tour with Tech 9, J-Rock, Kendrick, 40, and what was the name of the group? Crooked, Royce, Joel, and Joe Slaughterhouse. We all on tour together. So I go on Joe bus, right? I go on the Slaughterhouse bus. I'm hollering at Joe, like, I sit down, I'm popping it with Joe. I'm like, yeah, Joe, what's happening? He got his laptop in front of him. He was talking, but he put his laptop down.
Oh, you mentioned something about that before.
So he put his laptop down. This is fucking with Joe, bro. Joe Budden has, like, somehow fucked with my life multiple times. Not on purpose, but fucking Joe being Joe.
Can we get on his show?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yeah. So Joe pulls the laptop down halfway. Mind you, I never heard of live streaming or podcasting, so I don't know what he's doing. But to some degree, he's live vlogging, which became live streaming, which is what we're doing 14 years later. This is how ahead of the curve this crazy motherfucker was. So we popping it.
This is like wearing a wire in entertainment.
Right? So we chopping it up. Right? He like, man, I'm like, man, why are you on Wu-Tang so hard, bro? Like, you tripping, bro. I heard like them niggas is some street. Like, yeah, G, but them niggas let me down. Like, it disappointed me and da-da-da. When I met, I think he said he was either Ray or somebody he met that disappointed him. He like, you don't know what that shit feel like. Mind you, he is streaming. Now, I don't know he's streaming, but he is streaming. So his computer halfway down. So I'm just talking to Joe because I'm sitting across from him on the tour bus, cuz at the table, popping it. I said, yeah, I do know what it feel like. I said, that's like the first time when I met Ice Cube. And I wanted him to come out and meet all my OG homies from my neighborhood and Mona Park. And he was scared to come out and talk to them. And I explained the story to him. Mind you, he's live streaming back then in front of probably 1,000 people.
Yeah.
1,000 people. I don't know because his computer screen is halfway down, nor do I know because I don't even know what the fuck live streaming is in 2010, 11. I don't even know what that is.
Live streaming in 2011 to me was peeing standing up.
Yeah, that's like, what the fuck is going on? So he's streaming and I'm telling him the story. Right? I'm like, yeah, so, you know, like I thought the world of Cube and this situation happened and da-da-da. And I was like, damn, like, Ice Cube ain't the predator like I thought he was. You know what I'm saying? So I tell him the story to bond with Cuz.
Yeah.
He does not ever tell me he's live streaming. Right? So the next day, I look online and people calling me like, hey man, why you get that Cube? And I'm like, how did I get that Cube? And I go look at the blogs and it's like all these stories. Glasses said Ice Cube was scared of some. And I'm like, no, that's just like shortened and condensed, bro. That don't take into account what I was saying. Like, it's just being messy about something that I'm relating to a fellow brother of this shit about. Next thing I know, Ice Cube is putting out diss records, talking shit about me, like going crazy. And I'm like, what the fuck? Second time with Joe Budden. That was the second time fucking with Joe Budden, where it was just like, fuck, man.
I take it back. I don't want to go on Joe's show anymore. I'm scared. I'm scared to go on Joe's show.
Man, I almost got into it with a nigga, another rapper over Joe Budden's.
Not another rapper, Ice Cube.
No, that's different. I had to deal with a nigga practically. If I had an idol in hip hop, if I had an idol in hip hop, I don't have an idol in hip hop. The guys that I appreciate, I love. It's not I want to be them. Like Scarface is my guy, like because he got me through gangbanging. Like culturally untouchable got me through gangbanging. So it's not like I idolize him. I want to be Scarface. He's like a pastor in my life that saved my soul from damnation. That's my relationship with Scarface music and Scarface the artist. He's my fucking pastor. That's how serious it is with Scarface. With Ice Cube, he's practically like my blackness. Like he structured my blackness. Like I felt like if the streets didn't teach me this and I'd have this on my own, he is the person who structured my ability to still feel like I can be a black man, but not take no shit from nobody. Don't come over here with that silly shit. So this nigga is my ego. Ironically, he has a new project out. Make sure y'all go stream it. It's called Man Down. He has a single called Ego on there too. But Ice Cube would be my ego. If Scarface was my soul when it comes to like hip hop artists, Ice Cube is my ego. He's the way I structure like what I feel like is right and wrong with being black. You feel me? And you know what I mean? Like being willing to deal with niggas in the streets. So to have somebody that you look up to, you know, in any capacity, like fuck you, you think you Bobby Boucher, talking shit about your name. It's like, what the fuck? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And like, I don't know him to formulate a diss. Yes, I've heard rumors, right? But I don't know Cuz. So I couldn't even diss him because it's like, first of all, it's Ice Cube. Like, what the fuck I look like dissing somebody I bought all their records? How does that even make sense?
And he's kind of like, just in general speak, like he's got a good resume in battle rapping. Like, I mean, I never was aware that you were like a battle rapper type of rapper. It wasn't
even a fear of losing. I didn't even know what to write about. It would have been all disingenuous. I love Ice Cube.
Yeah.
Even when we squash the shit, I'm like, this shit is crazy because I love you. The fuck I look like trying to battle. I couldn't even work myself up to get mad. The best thing I could have worked myself up to do was to squabble cuz.
Have you ever done? No, I'm not even gonna ask. I said you never done a battle rap kind of track on anything or anybody
no.
like that.
I mean, so. No, I never. But that's not my fear. Like I am a.
Yeah, no, I get that. I was just curious.
No, yeah. Like I look forward to that opportunity, but I'm not rapping against fucking Ice Cube. The fuck, like half of the reason like I rap the way I rap is because of fucking Ice Cube. But this is fucking with Joe Budden's. This is fucking with Joe Budden. Fucking Joe Budden, man.
What's number 3?
No, this is number 2. The third time is I was finna squabble somebody because they was tripping on Joe.
Well, it's only a matter of time before that happens.
So a lot of times, even with this last press run, I wanted to go to Joe Budden's show, but sometimes I'll be like, you know what? Every time I fuck with this crazy nigga, it's always some shit.
Yeah.
Every time I fuck with this crazy nigga, it's always some shit. Every single time some shit happened. I remember I was somewhere. No, it was a show out there in the IE in San Bernardino. It was for it was a big show. And he had just got into it with Wu-Tang. Like they had jumped on him.
Oh, shit.
And it
based
was like,
off of the conversation you had on the bus.
Like I'm like Crooked right there. So Crooked getting guns and I got to get my gun. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And it's fucking Joe. Like Joe always got some shit going on, man. It's always some shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I fuck with him because he's an intellect and he know his hip hop shit and the nigga just a mental monster, but he also is like Slap Rock in my life. Every time I fuck with him, I end up in some shit.
Yeah.
Every time.
Dude, honestly, if I had a platform with the reach that he had, that would be me. All day. Every Thursday. What's up? Fuck's wrong with your boy? And I'd be getting a call. Yeah, I know I did it again.
Fucking Joe, man. That nigga Joe, bro. Joe just be having some shit going all the time. Joe just be having shit just going, cuz. And it's like, I want to fuck with him more. But it's like, you know, and I don't think he really care, but it's just like, you know what? I don't even need no extra drama in my life because we gonna sit down and have an honest conversation and he gonna push me and I'm gonna be honest and I'm gonna say whatever I think about whatever it is and it's gonna always end up being some shit with somebody else.
And I don't know. Obviously, I don't know Joe. It's no secret. But like, and I don't want to press this on him because I really don't know him at all. But there are certain people who conversationally don't say a thing that's how they really think. They say a thing that they know is going to make you say a thing. You know what I mean? Like you talk about good faith. I hate stumbling into a not good faith conversation that's designed to get me to say some shit. You're just trying to provoke me. It's like, look, if we having if you want me to do that back to you, I can do that back to you. But that's not what we're doing here, as far as I know.
To be honest, on Olivia's soul, bro, on my mother's soul, that's not him. He don't push you, but he just connects with you in this human way that allows you to be vulnerable. Yeah. But usually the vulnerability is finna come with some shit.
He's like the Howard Stern of hip hop.
There you go. I'm with that. That's who the fuck he is.
Yeah.
That motherfucker is like that. Just always some shit. Always some shit fucking with Joe, man. Every time you're like, damn, cuz this nigga always got some shit going on. Like, and I do consider Joe like some level of Conrad. Like, if somebody was doing something to Joe, like I would feel compelled to probably shoot the people that's jumping him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd be compelled to get niggas off his ass because I like Joe. You know what I'm saying? So I'd be compelled. Like, the street in me would be like, man, don't let them niggas do this shit to Joe, cuz. Like, you know what I'm saying? Don't let them niggas do this shit to Joe, bro. Like, that's compelled, right? But it's like, Joe is like one of them niggas, if he was my friend, I probably would already be in jail for murder. Like, if we were truly friends, I'd already had to murder somebody, cuz. Because that nigga just got some shit going on all the time.
There needs to be a room, like a space ethically where it's like, look, anyone attacks you, I'll shoot him. But I have to let them hit you in the face 3 times.
No,
it's necessary.
I wouldn't even let. I like Joe enough. Like, I feel like our camaraderie is well enough to where I wouldn't let nothing, you know what I mean, happen. Like, I couldn't feel good about it. Like, it would bother me because I just genuinely think he's a decent person. I do think he do some shit, but he all right dude. Yo, he a decent guy. He just, I don't know, man. I think the nigga just crazy or something. You know what I mean? Like, he just crazy, cuz where it's like, if we were really friends hanging tough, I'd already been pop somebody over, cuz. I ain't gonna even lie, cuz he just gonna have some shit going, and you know how it is. You be friends with somebody else, you know what I mean? And you just find yourself, having to stand up for that motherfucker.
No, I mean, I know a guy who is really smart and says like the honest thing that people either don't think to say or don't want to think to say. And people think that sometimes he's just a troll, but he's just a very thoughtful guy who has the courage to just say the honest thing that needs to be said. I know a guy just like that.
And that's how we go in No Ceilings the lunch hour. Shout out to DT. Joe is at home, on dope, but he might be, because he for sure be on some shit. And you just love him, cuz I can't let you do the homie like that, bro. It just ain't gonna happen, cuz like, you know what I mean? Joe's in some shit. No Ceilings Live lunch hour. Click the thumbs up. Shout out to D Taylor. I got you, bro. I will tell more stories on the pod. It's been a journey, to say the least, and I'm finna really go crazy next year. Click the thumbs up button. No Ceilings lunch hour right here. Y'all got to get back to work. I got to go to the community. So if you're still online, check that out. We're going to do another podcast for y'all tomorrow, so y'all have fresh material for tomorrow. And again, click that thumbs up button. No Ceilings Live, the lunch hour. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Pacific Standard Time. All this to support the No Ceilings podcast. The No Ceilings podcast, executive produced by Charlemagne the God, the Black Effect Network, and iHeart. Right there, go subscribe to the No Ceilings podcast right now. Once we shut this down, go subscribe right now. Apple Podcasts or anywhere you get your podcasts, iHeart Podcasts, any of that. Subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know you subscribe today if today is your day. Much love to y'all. We back here Wednesday at 12. Pete, I love you. I'll see you in a minute. My boy.
100%.